Yeah, my name's Steve Close, and I live in Carpinteria. This is a Haas avocado tree behind my house, and I grew avocados for 25 years up in Toro Canyon, and I sold that ranch, and this is the one tree I have left now. I just did a long narration, and I don't think I had the camera on. Isn't that great? Anyway, I just wanted to, it came up about the organic, everything organic. Now, when I first started farming up there, that really appealed to me. I thought, I don't want to use chemicals. Here I'm a city boy, and you think, who needs chemicals? And that applied to fertilizer and herbicides. Didn't want to use them. Roundup, didn't want to use it. So, but over time, I just learned through experience, and the chemical fertilizers I think are widely accepted. Although if you use them, you can't label your fruit organic. So, on the other hand, if you don't use chemical fertilizers, ammonium nitrate, potassium nitrate, or urea, which is like the cheapest form, it really brought food, massive amounts of food to the country, as opposed to animal fertilizers or primitive ways of fertilizing to replenish the soil with nitrogen. I mean, that is what these plants need. And in California, as a matter of fact, there wasn't much need for typically anyway. You can look this up. Everything I say you got to verify, and do your own research. But potassium isn't usually a problem. You can have your soil analyzed, and if you want to be scientific about it, have your soil analyzed, have a lab come out and analyze it and see exactly what might be missing. But potassium, nitrogen, and phosphorus, and PK, those are the big three. And I've just found that it was mainly nitrogen, that I didn't need anything else. And urea is 44% nitrogen per pound. And you buy it in 50-pound sacks if you're serious, or you might even get even bigger quantities in bulk, or it can come in liquid form. I always bought it dry in a pelletized form, and I used it here, and as I recall, it was like 2 pounds of actual nitrogen for a mature avocado tree per year. And you can apply it, continuously. The guys that are doing drip irrigation, you just always have it going in, it mixes in with the water. Of course, you can't drink that water. You got to make sure it's just strictly for irrigation. And, but in this case, I want to jump forward. Somebody was touting, city people do, organic is fine, I think it's great that people have the choice. But for serious production, for these avocados and low cost production, not harmful to the environment, to apply this nitrogen salt, dissolve, consume. It can be. I don't want to get crazy here. You do hear about the runoff, and it can cause algae blooms and so on. But so we have to be aware of what we're doing. But if you don't over apply it and it's absorbed by your crop, very little is going to go anywhere else. Like I said, verify everything I say. But anyway, it has, about 2 months ago, maybe just 6 weeks ago, I gave this a pretty good shot, maybe 8 pounds of urea, which was maybe double the normal dose. And then I really applied a lot of water, and I'm excited that now normally you would get some growth this time of year. That's normal when it starts warming up, but I believe that there's strong correlation here between the nitrogen and the water and this growth. If I hadn't done it during this drought, this thing would look not very good. But anyway, you can look at your leaves. This is a nice, healthy, expanded leaf. Now you see these yellow leaves? Now at first I thought, well, gee, you know, it could be a sign of missing something. I mean, boron, what are some of these oddball things that they require that, or zinc, that's another one. I remember guys claiming that their trees were low on zinc, so it's a micronutrient, and you might have to add that. But in this case, if you look at the back of this leaf, you see these little brown spots, mainly along the veins. Those are the leftovers of a Persea mite infestation. This came up, pretty sure it came up from Mexico. I mean, they weren't here when I first started farming avocados in the 80s, and they came shortly after NAFTA, you know, in 92, was it, or 94? That's when these started showing up. And whether NAFTA or not, you know, they probably would have got here because there's migrant workers going back and forth that things can hitchhike. And it's actually not that big a deal. And I learned about integrated pest management, a fancy term for just finding a natural thing, like a natural predator. And I can't remember what it is. It's another mite. And you just put these little sacks out there, these little, or maybe they were adults. It's been a while since I did this. Release them into into your field. You know, you get it at a place that you know, an organic place or a integrated pest management. You know, there are nurseries, you know, where they grow these predator insects or fungi or whatever it might be, bacteria that you might use to fend off the whatever's affecting your trees or your crop. Anyway, I let them loose, and with an abundant food supply, you know, like, first of all, the Persea mite had no local predators, or very few. But there's a response, you know, you introduce a predator that is either not there or not there in abundance, and with this massive food supply, well, that population explodes and it starts devouring them and minimizing the damage. And the worst thing that will happen is it'll just sort of suck the life out of them. I mean, it could, I guess, kill a tree, but normally that wouldn't be the case. You just might lose all your leaves. It would be a setback, there's no doubt about that. But it hasn't proved to be a real big problem in California. And the thrip, the avocado thrip, showed up a little bit later. And, you know, I have to admit, I was really stressed. You know, I thought, here we get the NAFTA. And now I've got these two new insects that had never before been, had bothered the avocado. But it turns out the thrip, you know, it attacks the fruit. It'll scar the fruit, maybe even make it turn all brown. But usually it'll have just some scars on it, and the fruit's okay inside. And you know, you might not get a full price for your fruit, but I found that it really didn't turn out to be a big problem either. To be honest with you, I can't remember what was used on the thrip. It might have been a spray. It might have been a pesticide. I don't know, but I never had to deal with that. I didn't have enough of an outbreak to be a bother up there in Toro Canyon. Now I want to show, there's a little baby avocado, see that? And then there's more coming, and you usually get, you know, thousands of them on one tree, thousands of them, and then they'll fall off at some point. Most of them will fall off. I don't know what percentage will remain. Sometimes one guy said, well, you lose about 99% of those little babies, and then the ones that are left over will grow up into mature fruit. I wonder how my time's doing. Oh, you know, I'm almost out of time. But I think maybe I'm saying the same thing I did in the first recording. Well, this is it. It's done.